This is from George Bernard Shaw. This is really cool. This is the true joy of life. Being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clot of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to make you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. It is a sort of a splendid torch, which I've got a hold of for a moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. That was George Bernard Shaw. This is Joseph Campbell. This is better. My holding things in my hands is making me look down at papers and whatnot. You're holding me in, man. You're holding me down. I want to shine, bro. I'm a torch. Serious. A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than himself. Follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors where there are only walls. Don't be concerned about the meaning of life. You bring the meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning. Live your life and make a difference. Troubles may come, but you must remember, opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. Answer any challenge that comes and look for the gift. The big question is whether you are going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure. Let's say that. Yes! Here's the trick to life. This is it. Here's the trick to life. Joseph Campbell. When we quit thinking primarily about ourselves and our own self-preservation, we undergo a truly heroic transformation of consciousness. Make your journey the hero's journey. That is what you're here for. That's Joseph Campbell.
Okay, so let me just begin by saying the title today is I Like Bliss. I want to tell you why. You know, when we think about our calling, when we think about our purpose in life, when we think about our destiny, when we think and we talk about our mission in life, we get very serious. Because most all of us are old enough to have felt that gnawing inside. Like, is my life really counting for anything at all? All of us have felt that. We felt that dissatisfaction at times. And sometimes we feel like we simply have too many choices. Sometimes we feel like we don't have a choice at all. And so either way doesn't feel very good. I read a lot of Joseph Campbell this week. Joseph Campbell, great scholar, teacher of mythology, he made it very simple. And he said this: the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. And then he added, and to follow your bliss. Now, all of us are on a journey. And the key is that we make it our journey. No one else can do this journey for you. Nobody else can do this journey for you, because you are the hero of your story, or the villain of your story, whatever your story happens to be. You are the one. You're the one that stands out. And so you, as you think about your destiny, you think about your purpose, you think about your direction, you think about your bliss. You know, when I think of those things, I think of roads. And I always think of Robert Frost, who said, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled. And then he said, and that made all the difference in the world. And so when I think about bliss, let me go ahead and tell you, bliss is a good thing. Let me give you one other quote from Campbell, who said, if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on kind of a track. that has been there the whole time, but you just didn't see it. It's been waiting for you. When you can see the big picture, you begin to meet people who are in your field of bliss that you didn't see before. And they open doors for you. So I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. Doors will open, and they will open where you didn't even know there were any doors at all. And so Campbell says, bliss leads to more bliss. He says, bliss opens up the doors. It should be known that Campbell, when he said, follow your bliss, all the people said, oh, that's a poster. Yeah, let's put that up in our room. Follow your bliss, man. Follow your bliss. But Campbell, when he talked about it deeply rooted in the context of commitment. He wasn't just saying, go to the islands, lay in the sun, drink your Mai Tai, follow your bliss. He didn't talk about that. Campbell was the one who had spent years in deep study. He was the one that spent 5 years in a cabin reading mythology before he really began his greatest scholarly pursuits. And so he knew about dedication, and his dedication, when he talked about bliss, he would have said you can't really have any bliss at all unless you have some kind of commitment, some kind of dedication. And so for him, bliss did mean that you'll find even more bliss, but it's always in the context of dedication. And bliss always involves other people. I know you might think if I could just get in a cave and get away from everybody else, I'd finally have bliss. But bliss is always connected with other human beings. Houston Smith. What a great man. I mean, the one book about world religions, he's written several about that, but there's the one major textbook about that. Such a great, great book. Is Kim in here? Kim is a friend of his. They know each other. A mystic, a scholar. He's now in his 90s. And a while back, he decided that he was going to live in assisted living near his home, in his longtime home in Berkeley, California. He said this. He said, it's time for me to add a new discipline to my daily practice of yoga, prayer, and reading from the world's scriptures. Here's his practice. To mentally bring the faces of the other people in the residence into his mind each day. And to ask himself, what might I do today to improve their day? That is so nice. That is so powerful. And so this man, this mystic who has all of this knowledge, who has all of this wisdom, who has this deep understanding, he said, for me, the greatest bliss comes from community. And then he said, to show such a maturity, he said, my life is to serve life. My life is to love others. My life is to serve life. So let me ask you, what exactly is your purpose? What is your reason? What is your destiny? What is your bliss? What's your purpose? I don't know if I told you yet, but I like bliss. I like the idea. But bliss is not easy. It's not an easy thing. I think it's very personal. This week I was reading lots of great minds because I didn't want to just be in my own. And the great Howard Thurman said, listen for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else is pulling. And so that tells me that bliss describes a feeling of listening to your own call. It comes within you. Bliss is a big word. I mean, I know it looks little if you write it on a piece of paper, but it's huge. If you look it up, it means perfect, total, 100% happiness. And that may be an overstatement. I know some people with bliss. I know a lady that has bliss. And I can tell you, she doesn't laugh every day. See, bliss really is talking about an inner peace that nothing in the world can touch. And it's talking about connecting with something that is bigger than you. Because if the only thing you're serving is just you, it's a mighty small package. You know, I think Robin Williams said that. And so sometimes there are bumps in the road, but that doesn't throw your bliss off at all. Bliss is connected to the heart. It's connected to other people. And it involves passion. I heard a dancer this week, and she was talking about dancing, and she said this, and some of you will understand this. She said, when I dance, everything lines up in my body, and I feel a part of the greater mystery. That's why I dance. And so for you, it may be something else, but it's when we feel part of something bigger than that. Something bigger than just ourselves. If I ask you, what's your calling? Would you be embarrassed? Do you have a calling? The word calling comes from a Latin word, vocare. That's where we get our word vocation. And you know what it means? Voice. It means you have a voice. So it speaks of the throat chakra. It means you're spinning and you're open there. You have a voice. And what I like about the word calling in the original language, because you see it speaks of a voice, you've got something to say, but then underneath that, the word means you've heard something. That's cool to me because it means you hear something, perhaps in your own heart, and then your voice speaks. You have something to say. That's my calling. That's my calling. Sometimes people make a living with their calling. Sometimes they don't, but they have some kind of calling. Which one do you like the best? Let me give you some choices. Calling, mission, vision, purpose, bliss. Is there one that stands out to you? Probably it's different for everybody. I like the word calling because it means that hearing requires proximity. It means I'm listening to my own heart. It means I'm getting quiet and listening. Like when we talked about the stuff we talked about earlier about journeys. Well, you don't really know what you think or feel unless you get quiet and listen to your heart. You don't really know. It's a heart thing. And it means you listen to what's happening inside of you. I was talking to Mary Pat a little bit about what I was going to talk about, and I said to her, you know, it's like Emerson and Hinduism. And she said, oh, Emerson and Hinduism? And I said, yeah, Emerson and Hinduism. And what they have in common is they believe that there is a core divinity within every person. They both agree. I agree with that too. I think there is a divinity, a core within you. And I think it's speaking to you all the time. And when you begin to listen, you know what your calling is. Emerson called it the oversoul. Some people call it God. Hindus have 1,000 names for it. I call it spirit. But it's what ties everything together for us. But I tell you something else. I do believe we have an individual call. But I believe we have a collective call. Like a group like this, I believe there's a collective call, there is a collective vision, there is a collective bliss. And I believe when we find our bliss, it's not just going to be good for us, but it's good for the whole world. Because if it's not good for the whole world, I don't think it's the real bliss. It's not the real thing. And so I believe that you, and I'm not sure what that reason is, I would not even venture to guess, even if you're visiting today, I believe you are here for a reason. I believe you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in this moment. I am so naive, I believe that for all of these billions of years, all that has happened so you and I would be right here, right now, in this moment. And then it comes to a moment where we get to choose. Two roads diverge in a wood, and I get to choose one of those. Do I just follow the crowd, or do I choose something else? 3 questions. Question 1 is, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I mentioned somewhere, but I read about this week, that in one church kind of setting, they put people in groups, and they put them face to face, and the question was, who are you? And they had to do that, one person asking, who are you? The other person answering, and they had to do that for 15 minutes. And then they switched. Can you imagine facing somebody and them saying, who are you? I'm a plumber. Who are you? I'm a dad. Who are you? I'm a man. Who are you? Can you imagine what that would be like? After all of that time, you begin to kind of get into it. So when I think about who you are and who I am, here's what I think. Before everything that was and before everything that is, you were there. I believe you were there in the very beginning. I think I was there with you. The reason I think that is because I believe you are eternal. I believe there's only one. And I believe you are part of that one. And so when the Big Bang was getting ready to bang, you were there. You are divinity. You live forever. The second question is, why did you come here? Maybe a better question is, why did any of this stuff get created? What's the purpose of all this stuff? Not only did the Big Bang, according to science, happen 14 billion years ago, but it's still happening. It's happening right now. Physics tells us that you and I are blinking in and out of existence like that. And it just happens so quickly, it looks like you're just sitting there. But we're constantly blinking in and out, in and out, in and out. Why are we here? Why is there the physical anyway? And what I'm going to suggest is the only reason for matter to exist is to be awakened. People talk about 2012 as an awakening. It's much bigger than that. There is an awakening. And I think you're part of it. I think you created the whole thing so you could be part of it. I think you're a part of it. I think you are a part of the awakening. That's why Journeys is important to me. Because I think that's part of the awakening. I believe love is much better than fear. I believe love is much bigger. And I believe you and I are here to be involved in an awakening. And I'm going to be involved in that awakening no matter what. And I hope that you are. But there's tremendous power when we do it as a community. There's tremendous power when we do it as people like this who we love each other, we support each other, and we hold each other up, and we do things. I mean, there's tremendous power in that. And so I'm not putting them down in any way because I think they are helping some people. But it's not the message that I really want to get out, because you see, some religious fundamentalist, if they had the opportunity, would kill you. That's happened historically. They would give you the chance to be converted or die. Could that ever happen again? I think it could. And yet, you see, I don't want to be critical of them at all. But at the same time, we want to hold up something higher, something more beautiful, something that's deeper. And so if you were involved in this creation, let me ask you, what do you think about it? Some of you, I would dare say, have become spiritual so you can escape this life. I don't want to be spiritual so I can get out of life. I want to be spiritual so I can be in the middle of it. So what would you call this creation? What would you call this life? Name it something. Would you say life is good? Life is neutral? Life is bad? See, I believe that life is inherently good. And I believe the Big Bang is the big yes. I had a friend, Pete had a friend, some of us had a friend who used to say, when he talked about God, he would call God, yes. That's a good name for God. Yes. And it's a good name for us. Yes. So we have a larger mission. That mission is yes, yes, yes. And so that's a very important thing. I don't know if we have I mean, do we have the love and the vision to really shine that kind of light and to believe in a mission? I know people have been hurt and people struggle. And I know that an awakening will lift them and will change the world. And that's what I think we're here for. But I think that it means, see, I feel an obligation. Do you feel any obligation at all? Do you feel any obligation at all to help the world be a better place? Not guilt, but obligation. I want the world to be a better place. When it comes down to it, if anything like that's going to happen or anything like that's going to really take place, it means that you and I take our finger and we take that finger and we point it at ourselves and we say, I'll do this. I don't care if anybody else does it, I'll do it. I'm going to be a higher light. I'm going to love. I'm going to express peace. We do it just like that. It's clarity. We need clarity. We need to be able to look at people and say, I'm clear on what I'm doing. I'm clear on what matters to me. Look at my checkbook. You can tell what matters. I've got my priorities straight. Look at it. And we're clear. We're clear on that kind of thing. Clarity. It's unshakable. Clarity. The future is not a given. I know some of you think you've got the future sewn up. Future is not a given. We talk about different stages, or I do sometimes, about how life could be and what we're going to become. But those things don't even exist yet. They only exist if we create them. They only exist if we live in a certain kind of way. I believe that you are on the leading edge of creation. I believe you're on the edge of the leading edge of creation. I think as a community we are. And this gives us the perfect opportunity to see if we're willing to step over and make sacrifices. If we're willing to step over and say, because I think individually we have to say, it's up to me. That's what I'm saying. It's up to me. It's not going to do me any good to say it's up to you. I say it's up to me. And it's my hope that you, inside of you, have that divinity that says, it's up to me. You know, it's like on one of those TV shows, you know, where somebody says they're looking for a certain person. They're looking for Joe. And one guy says, I'm Joe. Another one says, I'm Joe. A woman says, I'm Joe. And then they all end up standing and I'm Joe. I'm Joe. I'm Joe. You ever see a show like that? Well, the picture I see, it's up to me. And all of us are saying, it's up to me. It's up to me because I see we've been waiting 14 billion years to get here. And now it's time to make choices and stand for something. Let me read a couple of readings, then I'm going to stop. I read this, and I love this. I read it to a friend of mine and didn't like it that much. Rumi writes, God picks up the reed flute world and blows it. See, get it? It's a picture of God picking up the world and creating. Remember the lips where the wind breath originated. Remember the beginning. Remember spirit. And then it says, let your note be clear. Don't try to end it now. Be your note. I'll show you how it's enough. Go up on the roof at night in the city of the soul. Let everyone climb on their roof and sing their note. Sing loud. To me, that is so beautiful. Castaway. Tom Hanks. You remember the movie? Well, Federal Express did a commercial. Poking fun at it a little bit, but, it's a good commercial. And so they, Tom Hanks worked for FedEx. The plane crashes on the deserted island. He's there for years. And so he's rescued, and he comes back home. He goes out to the Midwest, out on a farm, goes out to a lady's house, knocks on her door, and he says, ma'am, this is a package from FedEx. I've had this for 5 years. I've been waiting to deliver it to you. Here it is. And she says, oh, thank you. And he can't walk away. He says, I'm curious. Can you please tell me what's in the box? And she says, sure. Nothing much. A GPS navigational device, a compass, a satellite telephone, a water purifier, and assorted vegetable seeds. He had everything he needed in that box. And that reminds me of you. You have everything you need within your consciousness. And so do I. Oriah Mountain Dreamer writes, there's nowhere to go. What you are looking for is right here. Open the fist, clenched in wanting, and see what you already hold in your hand. Now, you know me. I'm not one to be giving advice. But if I were giving advice, I would say, if this were the last time I'm speaking to you, I would say this. Go to your roof and sing your song. Make sure it's yours and make it clear. Make it a clear note. Because that's what will awaken everybody. In the end, no one is going to ask you, well, why weren't you Jesus? In the end, no one's going to say, why weren't you Buddha? Why weren't you Mandela? They're going to say, why weren't you Bill? Why weren't you Karen? Why weren't you Preston? Why weren't you Valerie? Why weren't you Rhodina? Mark? David? Jeff? That would be my advice. Go to the roof. Sing. No matter what. Sing. Right?